Hi guys, Andy here. So I've been using for the last 5 or 6 days this Xiaomi Redmi Note 2. You may have seen I did a video this year of the Xiaomi Mi 4i, and it was a reasonably good device, but I wasn't massively blown away with it. But I'd heard a lot of really good things about the Redmi Note 2, which is a bigger form factor, more of your phablet, more of the sort of a Note competitor, Galaxy Note, as opposed to the Redmi Note. If you've never heard of Xiaomi before, you're forgiven. They're very big in the East, though, and they're actually the third or fourth biggest phone manufacturer in the entire world. But a lot of people in the UK probably haven't heard of them because they generally don't sell phones in the UK. So I've had to get this one shipped from AliExpress.com. Now, I paid it was around £113, but then I had to pay £11 delivery to have the sort of the expedited, is it called? Which is kind of 3 to 5 business days. And then I had to pay £18 import tax and handling fees to DHL. Now, if I'd gone with the cheaper delivery option, I think there was one for about £3. I would have had it for less than 120 quid. Well, no, they may have still charged me import tax, but I would have been waiting, maybe 3 or 4 weeks for it to come. So if we have a look around the device, it's quite a sort of simple. I can't actually call it like a Xiaomi design because the Mi 4i wasn't that different, except just a slightly smaller version of this. We've got the speaker at the back, the little Mi on the base, the camera, 13 megapixel will come to with the flash, the volume rocker, and then below that the power. Nothing on the opposite side. The offset micro USB charging point to me seems a little bit weird. I mean, I guess you get used to it, but the amount of times I keep trying to plug. Oh no, it's over here somewhere. A little weird. I'm not quite sure why they did it, but now on the top, that is an IR blaster. I did have a go at trying to get the TV remote to work, but I couldn't quite figure out how to set it up. There might be some simpler software you can download from the Play Store, perhaps. And then obviously the 3.5 mil headphone jack. It's 8.3 millimeters thick, or thin if you like. Weighs 160 grams. I generally think it feels lighter than that. But I wouldn't say that it feels cheap. I think it does feel well made. It feels pretty solid. I mean, yeah, you can tell it's plastic, but to me it doesn't feel like cheap plastic. It feels like it's fairly, it's a good fitted, not loads of empty space behind it or anything. The hardware inside is MediaTek MT6795 Helio X10 chipset, which I'm sure we're all very aware of that particular chipset. I've never heard of it before in my life, to be honest. It's got an octa-core. Now, this is where I was a little bit confused. Octa-core 2.2 GHz Cortex A53, but on GSM Arena, which is generally where I get all my specs from, it has 2 lines. One line says the 2.2, one line says 2.0. I can't imagine it would have 2 octa-core processors in there. So it might be they do sometimes obviously do different models, one out to 2.2 and one out to 2 gigahertz. I'm not sure. The GPU is a PowerVR G6200. Again, I've never heard of that. But, I assume Xiaomi are getting all these kind of fairly budget. I mean, the Cortex A53, that's a well-known CPU, but the chipset and the GPU, God knows. 2 gig of RAM. This particular one is 16 gig storage, but you can get them 32 gig storage. Inside, it does have room for a micro SD card. It also has room for 2 SIM cards. This is very much a sort of a Chinese thing. I don't think UK phones generally think about having dual SIM card, but this particular one does. I have no use for it at all, but it's there. Now, I did think initially there was no accelerometer because the live wallpaper didn't seem to work. Now you can see this one. So I downloaded an update, and all of a sudden it seemed to start working. So I guess it does have an accelerometer. The performance actually is pretty good. Now you get different modes for the CPU. Do you see there that says battery use warning? Performance mode disables to right. So let's tap on it. Power settings, performance or balance. Now it comes as default on balance. So I switched it to performance. So let's see how the battery copes. And I don't know if you can see there, it's at 72%. Now, it's been off charge since 7 o'clock this morning, I think, and it's now Where's the clock? There it is. It's now almost 8 o'clock, so it's been on charge for 13 hours and it's only gone down 28%. That's on the performance mode where it's giving you a warning that it's going to use more battery power. So the battery is pretty good. We'll come to that in a little time though. It is annoying. I can't dismiss the warning. Bit annoying. Dismiss other stuff. Oh, it says that. I would say the screen, I've noticed that a couple of times where I feel that I've pressed something, maybe fairly lightly, but I feel I've pressed something and it doesn't seem to register. I think it happened a couple of times in my video again with it up against the Moto G 3rd Gen, where I thought I've tapped on the pause and it's not paused, I've tapped again and it's worked. One thing to note as well, the screen, I've not put the screen specs up on my sheet, so I think it's, I'll have to double check actually, I won't get, well no, I think it's a 1080p screen, but I'll try and double check. What's it? Oh yeah. So we come over here to the bright. I'm going to go off auto brightness and I'm going to slide all the way down. It looks like it's off, doesn't it? I don't know how well that comes across. That's still. Can you see? That's the darkest screen. In fact, I actually struggled to. I'm going to guess it's about, there we go. I had to guess where the brightness button was. That's crazy dark. And that possibly helps. So my battery test, I run through a 40-minute video, 37-minute video, which my beginner's guide to Android, with the screen on full brightness. Then I run through it again with the screen on as dark as it'll go. This came up with a score of 90%, which is pretty much, I think, about the level 3rd best I've ever had. I had something did a 94, something did a 91. This has done a 90 with a few other devices. But possibly because that screen is so dark when you turn it down to its darkest that, yeah, it's not going to use almost any power. So if we move on to the... Actually, just on the screen, I suppose. So it is... obviously, it is a budget device, but let's turn the brightness up again. I think it's actually a really good screen. We want something with a bit of colour. Let's open YouTube. So the viewing angles, again, I don't know how well this comes across on the camera. The view angles are pretty good. The bright colours, so we've got a nice bright red at the top there with the blue, if the camera focuses. You know, I think that's as good as you need, isn't it? So yeah, the screen, I would say very good. I'm going to turn that. Smash my camera around, turn the volume, the brightness back down a little bit. So then we move on to the camera. So the rear facing is a 13 megapixel. It's capable of 1080p at 30 frames per second. The front facing camera is a 5 megapixel. It can film 720p. It's worth bearing in mind both the let's go into the camera. Both of them default to the sort of lower res version of things. So if we, hopefully, there we go. So you slide up through there, we tap on the little cog. Now I've changed it. So you see their picture quality is set to high. I'm fairly sure that starts off as standard. And if we go over to the video, which is a matter of tapping the video button, and then again we slide it across. Now you notice the slow-mo button's kind of greyed out because you can't do it while we're on 1080p. But it starts off on HD, and you kind of think, HD, yeah, that's fine, I want high def, yeah, but actually it's referring to 720p. Now you see, look, the slow motion button's enabled. I've not really had much of a play with that, if I'm honest, the slow motion. I did do one quick video, just me clicking my fingers. I got that idea from Marco's Brownie, thank you. Let's go back to, so the camera, the main rear-facing camera. It seemed okay. Seemed pretty okay, I guess. Some of the pictures, maybe the colours don't pop like you might want them to. The HDR mode I thought was a little odd. I couldn't particularly see much gain from it, and in fact some of the pictures looked really quite poor. So when I took a photo kind of into the light, and actually all the trees looked really hazy, really sort of out of focus and blurry. I don't know if it is literally trying to merge the two pictures together and didn't get it quite right, but yeah, the video again looks a little washed out when you compare it to other things. You might think actually it's more of a realistic colour, but it does look a little bland, some of the video. The front case facing camera, much the same, not amazing quality. In fact, I mean, I would generally say the cameras on this are probably one of its weaker points. Reminds me a bit of the Moto G, the original first-gen Moto G. I loved the phone. It was slick and smooth, but the camera was pretty appalling. I don't know as I go saying it's appalling, but it's not a great camera. Anyway, you've seen some of the pictures on the screen, so I kind of let you make your own mind up. I do quite like, and we'll see if we can get it to do it now. Excuse me. If it recognises me, 51. Oh my god, it's gone way out. So if you can see, there we go, 40. I suppose it's not massively out. Can you see at the top there? It's basically guessing 50. So 59. Oh my god. Maybe it's the angle. Never mind. Anyway, I just thought that was quite good fun that it tries to guess how old the user is. Also gradient mode. Let's quickly show you that as well. You don't want to look at me though this time. If I can remember how to get to it. There it is, gradient. So it basically I think that's actually quite clever. It tries to keep your picture on the level. I don't think I've seen that in any of the camera apps. I think that is actually quite clever. That would be something you could use. I mean, I don't know. It's, at the same time, having said that, I think I'm generally reasonably good at being able to hold a camera level. I suppose it's handy if you just literally want to kind of go, click, and yeah, anyway. So, yeah, generally, just using the standard camera, it's relatively quick. It gives you reasonably good results in good light. It's not too bad. It's definitely not a strength, but it's not too bad. If we move on to the software, if you can see there, I'm running MIUI 7. It's actually in beta. In fact, I think it calls it a weekly. So those of you that flash ROMs will know what a nightly is probably. The Silent Mod guys quite often have nightlies where they just patch it each night, bits and pieces of it. You download a new ROM every night basically. And I think possibly this is kind of a similar thing to that. Each week they just release whatever their latest version is of it. Because I did get an update a couple of days after I was running it, which was like a 680 meg update. So I mean that was literally the whole ROM being flashed once again, rather than just a sort of 20 or 40 meg patch. I should actually also point as well, this one, be very careful. I got lots of adware, like in my pull-down notification bar. I had full-screen adverts pop up. You really should have a look at my other video about how to remove adware. This wasn't particularly a complicated process. In fact, you see at the bottom there, system updates. We tap that. It's checking if there are any newer versions of the software for me. No updates available. So you see that it says weekly. Now in the corner we get ... choose update package. So actually it's all built into the software. You basically download your own zip file, pop it onto the phone, and then you've got a file browser. You just browse to the ROM basically. So it's really simple. I like that, how simple they've made that. So MIUI 7, it's based on Android 5.0.2. Now, after I'd flashed the stock ROM, now I've actually put on here, which have I put on here? Nova Launcher. Yeah, Nova Look. Ooh, how easy will it be for me to go back onto the... Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. To go back onto the original. I mean, basically, they try and make it look like an iPhone, and that's not really anything I'm interested in. I can't remember if we'll system apps. If it's easy to change the home, no. I'm not going to worry too much. I don't. Yeah. So apart from the bloatware, when I flashed a standard ROM, I don't think there was a great deal of sort of bloat on there. You get things like bug reporting and radio that was built in, the music built in, me account built in. But nothing, nothing too imposing, nothing too intrusive. But I did find some issues with the software. So, for one, if we open up Beyond Pod, now it has a really bad time of remembering where I am. So, I was trying to listen through a sort of 2-hour-long podcast, and it kept thinking I was 14 minutes and 58 seconds in. I would listen to a bit, I'd turn my phone off, I'd carry on doing stuff. I'd come back to it, I'd be back at 14 minutes. It was really annoying.
Committed to monthly security updates now, and that helps, but only to a point if they have to rely on the handset maker partners and the carrier
then I don't know if you could hear it there. There's like a weird clicking when the podcast is playing.
To get things pushed out. So, it's really getting frustrating as somebody who likes Android to see this kind of news. I mean, I don't have a defense against when people complain about Android security. I don't think most people will be affected by any malware or anything like that. But still,
it wasn't actually too bad there. It's only clicking a couple, almost a little skip or jump. I did it a couple of times, but at some points it seems really quite bad. I know I listened to them at an increased rate, but I turned the speed down to 1 and it didn't do it. It still did it. Sorry, it didn't make a difference. And I have it at 1.4 on all my other phones. I've never had that happen. Now, strangely, when I go to... Not the... So that doesn't skip at all. That just plays fine and streams over Bluetooth fine. I have seen someone complain they're having real problems when it's just all kind of errors, especially trying to Bluetooth stream, but I've not had any at all. Maybe I should mention the speaker. I didn't before. It's not a great speaker. I do like having a good speaker. On my testing, it came in the sort of the bottom third, maybe even the bottom quarter of things. It's not horrific. I mean, you could hear then it's very audible, but it's quite a tinny noise, and it's not as loud as some of my other preferred devices. If we come back to the software, some of the other problems that I have. So I use an app now, only recently, called Battery Log. Now, you see there it says Start Service. The amount of times I've pressed Start Service, any other phone, it just runs then. That's fine. You come back to it whenever you want. Let's see. So that's fine. I should be able to exit out. Other things I can. Now, I don't know how quickly it stops the service. We'll go back in and see if it's still... So it is still running at this point. I don't know when it happens. Maybe it's even screen off. But like I say, normally I can leave that running for hours and days even, come back to check the logs. But on this device, normally, I mean, obviously I normally don't come back as quick as we are trying here. So it's still running at this point, which is fine. But that keeps shutting itself down. I suppose you can see there, look. So the 14th, and it stops at 8:30. And the next time I loaded it up the next day, and it stopped. It stopped itself. I don't know. I mean, it kept running for a reasonable bit of time there. So I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just really aggressive memory management. I'm not sure. I don't like that I can't expand the notifications, so I'm used to being able to tap on an email and open that up to see my email notification, to see what the emails are. I can't do that. So I find that actually more annoying than I realised I would. There wasn't, strange, on the first time I flashed it, I didn't get the notifications in there. I just got some dots over this side showing them, but the update came and they've appeared, so I shouldn't really even moan about it. I have also had some, well, I say some, to be fair, one random reboot. I forget exactly what I was doing, but literally everything just froze up, and I had to hold the power down for 10, or pull the battery, because it just seemed to freeze. I also, when I put the SIM card, and a micro SD card. Now, I think the micro SD card might be corrupt, because I put it in something else and it didn't work. But I put those two in, and it reset itself, and it had basically factory reset. Now, I don't know if that's a feature of Xiaomi, but when you put a new SIM in, it says, right, you're a new person. Poof, and maybe it's to help or to stop thieves. I don't know, nicking your data, maybe. But it was quite annoying for me. I'd been using it for sort of half a day. I thought, right, I'll stick my SIM card in now. I'm ready to go, and it wiped everything. So just, I suppose, bear that in mind, really. Themes. Now, this is a particular theme. I think it's supposed to be some kind of... Oh, I didn't actually notice there's a cog up there. Going on and trying to display. Display help. No, we don't want help. Oh, do you know what? Fair play. I hadn't seen there were shortcuts here. Because I had been thinking I don't get my notifications on this particular. So let's see. Come back out. Lock. It's quite clever that the lock screens are operated... Oh. Can under one side. There's me sort of toggles out. Oh, fair play. There's some there. That's my own fault. I didn't realise that. But this one is quite clever. It's pretending like it's a fingerprint reader. So you put your finger in it. Fingerprint verification is correct. You can unlock and release. And there we go. But if we go to themes, it's effectively a kind of a theme store. Oh no, it's the Android M, sorry, not an iPhone one. But if we go with, there's the iOS 9 one, look. That's right, I didn't actually like this one. Applies. And now in theory, and obviously I've got Nova Launcher on, so it doesn't really make as much of a difference. Maybe it looks a little bit different in there. And the lock screen is completely different. So now it's a slide to unlock. Let's change the wallpaper. But yeah, so the themes are very easy to switch back and forth. That's quite good, I like that. One thing to bear in mind as well. Now, when I first... So I sat at home and I'd installed a fair few things, and off I went to work. And then I was trying to install anything else. In fact, I could always recreate it, I suppose. So I go into downloads. You'll see the reverse of how I fixed it. What am I looking for? Download. There we go. Sorry. Downloads, and then there's 3 dots. Settings. Download size limit. Now this was set to like 1 meg, I think. Really? Now, mind you, I'm on Wi-Fi at the minute. Let's turn Wi-Fi off. Oh yeah, Wi-Fi's been on all day, and battery's still done very well. So Wi-Fi's off. Oh, there is an app switch, but I didn't really mention. This is an app switch button here. Kind of odd. All that wasted space, I don't really get it. You can close things by sliding them up. You can lock things by sliding them down, or you still get rid of it. But they're basically your recent apps. Still seems a bit weird. There's a lot of space. Why don't you use it? Let's go back to the Play Store. So, for example, now, am I off Wi-Fi? Yeah, I'm off Wi-Fi. I press install. I press accept. Oh, interesting, because before... So it says that, look, download size requires wireless LAN. Waiting for Wi-Fi. So I was having that happen to me on everything. I said, what is it doing? Even when... Because I'm surprised it didn't ask me. Normally it says, do you want to wait for a Wi-Fi? And I untick it and say, no, I don't. Crack on. And I couldn't understand it. It was driving me nuts for 2 days. I kept, anytime I realised I wanted to install something out and about, I couldn't do it. So then I Googled for the solution, and it's this bit in here in the settings. Now, initially I thought, okay, well, I thought actually it's not that bad an idea. Especially if you're on a limited data plan, to say, you know what, don't download anything bigger than 100 meg. So I moved it to 100 meg. But unfortunately, that's still... Let's see if it does it again now. Switch, Play Store, Despicable Me, install. Actually, let's go into the... Maybe this is when it'll ask me. Waiting for Wi-Fi. Now, almost certainly that app cannot be more than 100 meg, because Google, they just increased the limit from 50 to 100. So the app can't be more than 100 meg, but it's waiting for Wi-Fi still. If we switch back to downloads and put it to unlimited, then go back. See, it's downloading now. So there's a little tip for you. Just set. I mean, like I say, I quite like the idea. I just don't think they've implemented it properly, to be honest. What am I doing? I want to put Wi-Fi back on, not change. So there you go. A little weird. Now, I've mentioned the battery a couple of times. It is a removable 3060 milliamp hour LiPo battery. I would say it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Well, this battery combined maybe with the MIUI operating system. So as you saw, I've only just gone past 30% now. It's been on at least 13 hours. I've read somewhere, I don't know if it's from Xiaomi claiming it, but they say, oh, you get 2 days out of it. And I can believe that. I mean, I'm on the performance mode as well. I should perhaps have tested with performance mode off. But I was really quite impressed that my testing it did scored very well as well. So the battery definitely is not, that's a strength. I was going to say, well, it isn't a weakness, but it's a strength. If we move on briefly to talk about the hackability, on XDA developers, I can already see there's the Xposed Framework is available for the Redmi Note 2. TWRP, the custom recovery, is available. I'm fairly sure I've seen even an AOSP ROM is available, which would be interesting. Maybe I'll try that on this before I probably sell this, because I'm not going to... It won't be my main device as sort of as good as it is. So it looks like the dev community is quite behind the Redmi Note 2. So that's probably, that's another strength as well. So what do I think about this device? It's quick, it's slick, it's smooth. It's a very smooth operating system. It's got a great battery. It's got an amazing price point, probably the best thing going for it. But the software glitches, they might be ironed out in time. Like I said, I'm on a beta, so maybe it's a bit harsh for me to sort of use it as such a big negative, but to me they're very annoying. The speaker's very poor, and the camera, I think it's got to go down as below average. So for me, I try and keep what I think to be, oopsie, not my camera over again, to be the best budget phone. And part of me was thinking, do you know what, it might push the Moto G 3rd Gen out of the way. But I just don't think it can. The Moto G 3rd Gen is a better all-round device with less flaws, less kind of problems. So it is a great device. And I suppose it's a bit tricky for me because really, if your budget is £150 maximum and you want the bigger size screen, I think the Redmi Note 2 is a good buy. It's a good purchase. If you're not so much for the big screen, then I would be leaning towards the Moto G. So it's not that for £120, it is a bargain. It really is a bargain. But for me, just some of those negatives, the speaker, the camera, the glitches in the OS, and just not having a kind of UK operating system in some ways, just sort of mean that it's not quite as good as, for me, the Moto G. So still a very good device at a great price, but not quite perfect. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.